Well, basically, again, this is our presentation room / hangout room, whatever you want to call it, which seems comfortable enough. And years ago, groups started sharing t-shirts, various things. So we got the idea, we're like, yeah, we'll just keep going. And we've had a lot more groups than this. I mean, a lot of groups told us they were going to give us stuff, but they never did. So there's been a lot more people than this.
So Nick's been here?
Yeah, we filmed with Nick.
Oh.
Yeah, we filmed, that's my third TV show.
Oh, the new one, the TV show that he has now?
Yes, we are in Deathwalker.
Deathwalker. He went
And
to
we
the
are,
jail too.
we are episode 7.
Really? I might have
Yeah.
to look for it now.
And that's all about to be announced for US release.
Okay.
Not too long from now, but we're waiting for the network basically to
Yeah.
put all that out. But that's all coming.
Oh, go ahead.
And Nick got really extraordinary things in here.
Oh, okay.
He really did. It's going to be a really good episode. A lot of people are going to love it. It's this building, one of the things we discovered about this building, first of all, when we came across this, we again weren't looking to buy an 1800s building, much less an 1800s very haunted building. We moved all over Texas. Obviously, I started off in San Antonio and went down to the valley. My wife is a teacher, high school teacher. I'm now a high school teacher too. And actually, I'm a practicing principal at this point, about to become a principal. So I've gone through extra things with the master's degree and everything. But something, we'd never been to West Texas. My wife is from this area. She was raised here. She was born in Abilene. But she, as a young girl, moved away and went into the Army after high school and went all over Texas exploring the paranormal, San Antonio, of course, all over. And then we ended back up here. And it's kind of funny because we could have gone anywhere, but something drew us to West Texas. And I'm almost thinking there's some hidden destiny here that I didn't know about, because when I started exploring the various locations here in West Texas, because there wasn't too much talked about back then. Everything was like hidden little secrets here and there versus the rest of the state. Well, I came across this story, which was about 6 pages long, and this was on Halloween of 2015. That's when I came across that story. And it talked about this building here in Ballinger, and that really got my attention. Because the biggest thing on that story was a man here in West Texas who was a student at the time, was driving one day looking for Western memorabilia. He would live in San Angelo. He comes up here to Ballinger, and he's thinking, oh, antique store. I'll just go in and see what I can find. Well, he explains that he comes in, owners are sitting right there, he walks in, place is full of antiques, and he just asked them flat out. He said, do you guys have any Western stuff? That's what I'm looking for. No discussion on ghosts, nothing, didn't even know. They said, yeah, just go upstairs, help yourself. So he's walking through this building just like we're going to walk through. And back then it was full of lots of antiques. You can imagine. It was probably even spookier with all that stuff. And he explains how he's going from room to room to room. And after a while, somebody starts following him. As he leaves one room to go to another room, footsteps are following. Wow. So he's constantly doing this. Then he describes eventually ending up in some back room upstairs, which I think I kind of have an idea what room it might be, with a table with a bunch of National Geographics on it. So he's in there looking at the magazines, you know, just kind of looking around, and the footsteps come again. And then he describes as he turns, he sees something start to form in the shape of what looks like a man.
Wow.
Now, the newspaper reporter did that story, did a great job with the story, but they left a lot of things out of the story. Because I made contact with him after we bought this building.
Wow.
And I said, Wes, can you tell me some more things about your experience? And he goes, yeah, there's a lot more. She didn't describe the detail of the apparition.
Okay.
Basically, when it formed to him, he said the mist came into the room, went to the side, and the mist then took the shape of an old man with a beard. He said he could see everything on the detail of the man, and the man started grinning at him. And that's when he took off, tearing down the stairs. And when he gets down here, they're still sitting behind the desk. Mm-hmm. And the first words out of their mouth before he could say anything was, "Oh, you saw them."
Wow.
And that's the way they used to do things in here. A lot of people used to see other people in here. Wow. And they used to think they were employees.
Right.
The past owner had this building. She died last year. But she had a lot of stories. And one of her stories was when she had the building, she had another place in Bastrop. So she was constantly back and forth during the winter and stuff. She wasn't up here a whole lot. Well, probably around this time of year, she was doing the same thing. And one day, one of her friends here in town comes up to the store wanting to talk with Jeanette. And the front door is locked. Well, as she's looking in to see if Jeanette's in here, there's a woman walking back and forth in the lobby. And a real person.
Right.
And she's doing everything she can to get the attention of the lady, and the lady's not paying attention to her. So she calls Jeanette after a while. "Where are you, Jeanette?" Jeanette's like, "I'm in Bastrop." "Well, I'm in front of your store." Jeanette's like, "I'm not there." And she's like, "Well, that lady won't let me in. I have nobody at the store."
Wow.
So that kind of stuff. So you can imagine, I couldn't wait to see this place, when I saw this story. So we came up, and it was probably the worst day in November of 2015 that you could see this building. It was gloomy, stormy outside.
Perfect weather.
Perfect weather, but not perfect weather to see a haunted building. But we couldn't wait to see it, and she, when I first contacted her around Halloween, she pretty much blew us off because this story was so popular. And everybody wanted to see this building. So I was explaining who I was, but in a nutshell, I was just somebody else.
Right.
And she was just getting hounded because of that story at Halloween, you can imagine. She basically exchanged information. He contacts me a month later. We come up in November, again, the worst day. We start walking around. I didn't see or hear anything, but the whole time I felt like we were being watched. Mm-hmm. And I felt like we were being followed. And we came down the stairs, and right as we come down the stairs, she's sitting down here, and she goes, "What do you think of the building?" And I said, "It's very unique." I said, "I love the history." I said, "I love old buildings on top of anything. And if they're haunted, that's even better." And I said, she goes, "Did you feel anything?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "They're here." I said, "Somebody's watching me." And she goes, "Oh yeah, they're here." She goes, "This building's haunted by as many as 30 spirits. And I turned around, I went, 30? And she's like, "Yeah." And I was kind of like, I believe you in a sense, but I need to kind of see that. Mm-hmm. But I said, "I know there's something here." And then the second word out of her mouth was, "Did you know the building's for sale?" Wow. And she goes, "You want to buy it?"
Wow.
And make a nutshell, basically we had two offers. First one was for the building and all the antiques in the building. That was just no way. The second offer, here we are 6 years later, almost, with this building. Now we had to figure out, first thing we had to do was all our friends were coming in after we bought this building, and from day one, we started experiencing things. The very first day, me, my wife, and a friend were walking down the hallway where the pictures are, where I'm going to take you guys in a second. Sunny outside, just like this, bright. Weren't talking ghosts, weren't thinking ghosts. I basically had a checklist. I just bought this old building, so you can imagine all the things I had to do. So that was my main concern. I was checking off, okay, this needs fixing, that needs fixing, this needs to be done. Well, we're standing in this hallway right on the other side of this wall, And all of a sudden, what sounds like an old PA system starts to crackle. You know how those old speakers are?
Right.
And I started looking around. We're just kind of like, what the heck? And all this crackling static, you know, just like a speaker hidden on the wall somewhere. We're just looking around. We couldn't see anything. And all of a sudden, this old woman's voice comes out and fills that whole freaking hallway.
Wow.
And goes, hello. We've also had 4 cast members from the show Ghost Hunters on A&E. We've had Rochelle, Brian, Kristen, and Mustafa have all been here.
Oh, Mustafa.
Yeah, we're actually getting ready to get Daryl here in May.
Okay.
So by the time Daryl comes, that'd be 5 cast members. And then Brandon, hopefully, somewhere along the way, so that'd be 6. They've all experienced really cool stuff. Mustafa, first time he was here, he's been here a few times. First time he was here, we got to the end of the event, which was pretty late. And me and him were standing upstairs towards the back of the hall, which we're going to see. Nobody behind us from the event. Everybody was in front of us, probably about 40 feet in front doing stuff. So me and Mustafa just kind of watching everybody. It's all dark behind us. Nothing really been happening. And all of a sudden, Boots walk right up on us from behind.
Wow.
Like about 4 steps. And Mustafa just kind of turns and he comes back and his eyes are this big because you can feel the environment around us change. And he's just like this. And then he kind of looks over at me and he goes, Dan, this place is legit. And I was like, no duh. I was like, I'm in here all the time. But it's kind of funny when when people from TV, they've been to lots of different locations and you never know what they're going to say in your location. You know, they may walk out with nothing, which doesn't mean it's not here. It just may not pop off for them, you know, at that moment. In here, it's kind of like this. Just depends where you come in on that loop. Nick, luckily, got a lot of stuff. They've gotten stuff. I'm sure you guys might, because Friday night's group was very active. Saturday didn't get a whole lot, but they got some things. Now you guys are next in line. Yeah. So you might be up on that next, you know, like riding the roller coaster to the top. You just never know. The kitchen, like I was telling you guys, anytime something could pop off. Kitchen, as innocent as it looks, is still part of the building. And one of the things I forgot to tell you was a little bit about the history, is in this part from this wall to the front, with this wall to the front, basically all this, upstairs and downstairs going this way, is the original 2-house structure. Second story White House. And we're going to look at those pictures when we go in here. But you're pretty much in what we consider the oldest part. Because basically it was here as a house, nothing beyond this wall at one point. The initial stairs used to go up this way, which if you look on this wall and you look on that wall and there, you'll see how the stairs went up this way. And now we have the stairs going the opposite direction. So they added those later, you know, as they revised this building. That's probably another reason why it's so active, is it's gone through a lot of modifications.
They took out
kept growing and growing and growing into this 10,000 square foot structure. And you can see how we've done a lot of, this is like a museum history area. Showcases a lot about Ballinger. We've had a lot of families in here. The people we bought the building from was the Keel family. This was Jeanette's family. Jeanette just passed away last year, but these were her grandparents. John Henry Keel and Virginia Keel. And they're still here.
I see, that's what I heard, Virginia still.
Yeah, they're still here, and they are in the back here, downstairs. That's where we pick up on them a lot. His workshop is in the back. We're going to go back here in a second. And we think they're in the workshop. We think there's 2. We think it's him and somebody else.
Who is that? That's the workshop?
This is John Henry Keel.
John Henry.
Yeah. Okay. Now, the workshop, we haven't done much to. It pretty much looks the way it did when we bought this place. We haven't changed anything in there because we think you'll probably get mad if we do.
Right.
In a way, it was his, what we think it was.
Did you just mow?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Okay.
We think the back workshop was his man cave. He had all these daughters.
Wow.
So a lot of women. And that might have something to do with, he doesn't look too happy in this portrait, first of all.
I see that.
He's not smiling.
He's not.
It's a portrait. He had Alzheimer's, and he was kind of losing his mind towards the end, and that might be part of the reason why he was acting the way he was, because he was very grumpy, they said, before he passed away the last few years. He was just very grumpy, staying away from people type stuff. So that might be the reason why he doesn't like people back there. And when women go back there to the workshop, it just kicks off, and they like to bang on things, they like to throw things. Things have lifted off like little pebbles or whatever, almost like they're trying to get your attention. And people have actually filmed that, stuff picking up and flying and hitting other people. Yeah. Nothing to hurt anybody, but
Right.
it's enough to get your attention.
Yeah.
That's what they're trying to do.
Yeah. Now, like I said, there's two of them in that room in the back. I don't think it's Mr. Keel doing a lot of that. I think it's the other one. And the other one's like an old cowboy from back in the day. Because this building was a brothel. It also was 3 different hotels before it became the Park Hotel. They bought the building in 1922 and took it over, and they started the big, huge modifications that you see going towards the back. The concrete portion is what they built, adding on to it. And they built that in the later 20s. Now, the way this story goes, let me kind of point this out to you guys. Ballinger was formed in 1886 from what we've uncovered. And they had a huge auction right across the street on that lawn. I think it was June 29th, somewhere around there, 1886. And what happened was they advertised all over the paper, and this was formed by the railroad company, the Gulf of Colorado and Santa Fe. They built this town. And what they did is they were stretching the railroad up here, trying to go across West Texas. Most of Texas was formed, but there wasn't a whole lot out here. So they were trying to bring that railroad out here, trying to create some bigger cities and things like that, trying to hook up Abilene, trying to hook up various things, El Paso, San Angelo. Well, there was a little settlement here called Hutchins at the time, right where we're at. So there were buildings here already before 1886. It just wasn't called Ballinger, it was called Hutchins. And that's the reason why this main street out in front of us is called Hutchins,
Oh, I didn't.
because it was named after the original settlement that was here. When the railroad company came through here, they did this big advertising thing all over the country trying to attract people. They practically sold lots for free that day to get people to come here. And when people hear about land practically being sold for free, come bring your businesses, come bring whatever, we'll give you stuff practically. People shot here in droves. 3,000 people, maybe 3,400, was huge.
Wow.
And a demonstration of that by looking at all these old pictures that I have of Ballinger. These are all Ballinger pictures. And you can just see all the people. Here's one of the old saloons in town. This was right down the street. It's called the Palace Saloon. This is Hutchins right here, by the way, which is the main drag that's out in front of us. Look at all those cars. Lots of people. It was just packed.
Oh, yeah, you can see the little town.
Yeah. This town had as many as 13 saloons back in the day. And with the saloons came the brothels. They don't like to admit it.
Right.
There's several people in town that still won't admit it, but it's very clear. If you had saloons, you had the other thing.
Right.
And you also had the outlaws that were here. We had some pretty bad outlaws. These guys, John Wesley Hardin, we've actually talked to his family. They're going to come here, by the way. Jim the Deacon Miller, and Emmanuel Clements. These guys were all associated with Ballinger, did a lot of bad things across Texas. If you pull up the most notorious Texas Old West outlaws, they'll all be on that list. And they were directly associated with Ballinger. They did a lot of stuff across Central Texas. And Manny, after years of doing bad stuff, decides to come up here and for some reason decides to run for office in 1887, right after Ballinger had formed, thinking, oh, everybody's forgotten about all these things I've done for years. Well, he ended up losing the election, but guess what? They found out where he was at.
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
You know, pops up in the newspaper,
Yeah.
right? You know, somebody's looking for you. Guess what? They're going to be like, I know where you're at now. Well, they had a huge confrontation. Marshall Townsend confronted Manny in a saloon one street over from here on the other side of the courthouse, and they had a shootout. Went for their guns, basically. It was that type of a environment, and it's said that Manny was drawing first, but the marshal beat him. And as Manny was turning around, standing at the bar, the marshal drew and shot him through the left eye and killed him instantly. Manny goes straight down. And we actually have an old newspaper excerpt, which you guys are free to read, from 1887, which that's the reason why we have it on the wall. It has the whole story.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, after Manny was taken down, you can imagine these guys weren't too happy. They ran in a gang, and they all shared different last names. But most of the things people don't realize is that they shared different last names, but they were all married to sisters and cousins.
Wow.
So this was a family. It was a circle.
Wow.
And basically, you take out somebody, one of the main guys in the circle, the other guys aren't going to be happy. The same marshal that took out Manny 5 weeks later here just outside Ballinger was blown off horseback with the shotgun and left for dead. And everybody knows what a shotgun does. It does pretty bad damage to you. So the shooter assumed they were dead. Marshall ended up surviving somehow that time. Eventually they got him, but it was suspected that Jim the Deacon Miller was the shooter, because his choice weapon was a double-barrel shotgun. That's how he killed all his victims. And he's rumored to have killed 200 and some people across Texas, including his own grandparents and an uncle when he was a boy. So he wasn't a good person.
Yeah.
Now the thing about Deacon, you guys know what Deacon stands for? That was his nickname. You never heard that before? He got it from preaching in church.
Oh.
That's the reason why they called him Jim the Deacon Miller, is because on Sundays he would dress up like this, all nice and fancy, go in church and give sermons. So every time he was linked to another so-called shooting, he always had an alibi, technicality. He would get off.
Yeah.
Because everybody was looking at this man going, oh, he preaches in church every day. There's no possible way he can be linked to anything.
Yeah.
So he always linked. I don't have a double barrel, but it was always a shotgun. So, I mean, that's pretty clear, you know. You start thinking, wait a minute, everybody's dying by shotgun. Well, you can't believe that this man can kill you. This man can. And that's the same man.
Really?
That is Jim the Deacon Miller.
Wow.
That man comes at you out of an alley, isn't going to do it. This man is. So we're thinking that he had two personas.
Wow.
And he was a hired hitman, and they said that he killed without a conscience. So basically he was that type of person that you just didn't want to double cross, because he would come at you. Now the interesting part is, we think, and this comes from several different people. I don't know if you guys have ever seen a Ghost Lab with the Kling brothers. Well, they've been here.
Really?
Yeah. Brad was on the same paranormal team with us at one point.
Wow.
Before they got the show. And right after we bought this building, they came here to film an episode of Strange Curiosity, because they were trying to get a new TV show on the air. So they did a full episode here in the hotel right after we bought the building. One of the things they uncovered, these guys,
Really?
they're here.
Wow.
We don't know why they're here, but since those days, we've always investigated, calling out their names. If you call out Deacon, I guarantee you guys do this tonight. You say, Deacon, we're ready to have it out. We're ready to talk to you. You watch what happens.
Wow.
He just pops up. On the building was the Seacrest family. There's a picture of all of them. It's Washington Hampton Seacrest II, all his daughters and sons. He ended up basically inherited a lot of money from his father, His father was one of the first Texas Rangers. His father was also the one that brought in Santa Ana. He was in that same group. So basically he got a lot of money. We think he got given land. That's how it was done back in the day. And that's how they acquired wealth. Well, back in the day, to have a big 2-story White House structure, we're talking 1800s, you had to have money. And it had to come from somewhere. That's the only way wealth could build something like that. Most people lived in shacks, very small places. Took them a while, to build up wealth. So if you had a big old 2-house structure sitting here, that means you probably were looked at very prominently. And this family did. And we're thinking that's where it came from. What happened was he ended up inheriting, came up here, took over this building, ended up giving it to his daughters. These same women here are the same 5 women that are pictured here.
Oh.
Now where this gets interesting is the building was very, very strongly rumored, obviously, to be a brothel. And it's rumored to have been a brothel twice, not just once, twice over different periods. We tend to think, and this strongly leans to this direction, that they were the ones that were running the building under the guise of a hotel, but it was being run as a brothel. Now, let me just ask you real fast, looking at this picture, what do you notice as far as all those women? They're obviously posing.
One's dressed in black.
Does one stand out more than the others
The
to
one in
y'all?
the center to me.
You think so? We tend to think she's the madam.
She was the madam.
Yeah. And her name is Octavia Seacrest. She goes by Octi. She's dressed very flamboyantly in that picture compared to her sisters. She's dressed very regal.
Oh, yeah.
This is her older sister, but she's dressed better than her older sister. We tend to think Octi was the one. We don't have direct evidence, but paranormal evidence leans in that direction. And people tell me they think there's a woman that follows me around. She's probably behind me right now, because psychics always say there's a woman that's always following me. She's dressed very flamboyantly, and she's always like looking over my shoulder. So I wouldn't be surprised, if she's doing it again. It's one of those things. I think she's just here, and she just wants to make sure the place is,
Right.
She kept everything in order. Type thing.
Right.
Yeah. So basically you got all that. You have all these old pictures. Now the house, let me just turn on the light here, see better. Okay, famous picture of Ballinger, taken way back. This is shot from the other side of the courthouse looking this direction. Mm-hmm. So it's like they're on that other street looking this way. If you see in the background, you see a two-story White House structure across the front of it. I've done you guys the honor of blowing that background up. And there you see your 2-house structure.
Yeah.
And you also see that big old space, and then you see the building next to us. Well, the building next to us is the restaurant. We're standing in the space right here.
Gotcha.
This is an exterior wall. So the downside of that side of the house is this wall right here coming down. And what they end up doing was they end up adding to it. And it's said that, it's highly rumored that all of this, from the front, this way upstairs, all the way to the curtain, upstairs and downstairs, when the railroad came through, they went to another settlement here, which was called Runoff City. And it was actually the county seat at the time. And it sat about 8 miles north of us, towards Abilene. It doesn't exist anymore. There's just a marker on the side of the road. There's no buildings. It's just gone. You can almost drive past the marker. But that's where all your power and influence was at the time, before Ballinger got going. What happened was the railroad went to them first, instead of coming to this little settlement of Hutchins, which was really just a blot on the map at that time. People in Runoff City thought they had that railroad coming through. So they got a little cocky. They didn't try hard enough. The railroad was like, you know what? We'll just go down here to this little settlement on the Colorado River, because that's what they were looking for, something next to a river. Runoff City didn't have a river next to them. Hutchins did. They came down here and formed this town. And they went to everybody in Runoff City and that same proposition, we'll help you dismantle your buildings, bring everything here, give you lots for free. That's what they did.
Wow.
It said all the historians in town, and this comes from really old people that have been here a long time, tell us that this part of the building came from dismantled buildings from old Runoff City and was added to the house. And I'll give you guys a good example. This picture, this is one of the only known pictures of a building from Runoff City at the time. That was obviously a pretty fancy building. If you look at the top, the way that they did these buildings back then, this particularly, when you get a chance, go look at the top of this building.
Oh.
It's the same type of structure,
Wow.
which shows that the parts
Yeah.
could go along with that story, that the historians are telling. The house, this is our house right here. There's your restaurant. It's looking at an angle, the courthouse is over here. So that's a pretty old picture.
Wow.
And then I have another picture, which I was hoping was sitting over here. It's sitting somewhere
Is
of
that
the
restaurant
actual
the
restaurant.
Saloon?
Yes. We tend to think it is because of the way that it is structured.
Yeah.
The people in town try to deny it. Some of them try to deny it because I think they just don't want to admit that there were that many saloons here, even though there were.
Yeah.
There were a lot of ruffians in town. There were a lot of railroad workers, a lot of everything. The town attracted a lot of people because it was like a junction type thing. But the thing that makes me mad about this picture is if they would have just shot at 45 more degrees that direction,
I got you.
we would have had a really good close-up picture of this building, which has been really hard to find. I'm hoping one day it pops up. 2 days ago, I was sitting right here. And I was doing some work in here with that hammer, and that's when they walked right above. And it's very, when they walk on the wood floors, like I said, it's very clear. Boots, you can't boots are very distinguishable.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this is our Seacrest sitting room. We have an old Victrola, you guys can use it. Basically, the way this works is you want to crank in this direction. Have a lot of really old records, and when you play this, you basically crank that back, the record starts turning. There's no electricity in this thing.
Oh.
And basically you lift your needle down.
That's pretty neat.
And this brings the spirits out. When they hear this, it brings the spirits. The only thing is you have no volume control.
Wow. That's some old music too.
Yeah, we have a lot of old records. So
It's so neat.
So you guys are free to use this. I guarantee it will bring them out. Usually does. If you're sitting here all by yourself, you'd be
And
surprised.
She saw something come up behind her.
Yeah. So basically people are, actually somebody turned the chair. Normally the way I have the chair, you can sit any way you want, but if you sit more of an angle like that, you tend to see more.
To get the angle of the mirrors.
Yeah, and then you close the door behind you, totally isolate it, and you just wait to see what happens.
So I heard.
Not too many people have been brave enough to do that, but the ones who have gotten some pretty cool stuff. Yeah. Okay. See the length of the building? So you got a lot to look at here. You guys are seeing, the pictures don't do it justice. Like the pictures don't show how big this building really is, when you're wandering around in it. And you guys are free to look at anything back here. You guys probably get a joy out of that, if you can see it.
The Ouija board.
Yeah, so you get a joy out of that. So basically you got that to use if you want it to. Let everybody make their own
The
decision
library
on
room.
that. Yeah, this room's get some weird feelings in here. People a lot of times see, including us, an old woman and an old man sometimes sitting there looking back. So you'll be like walking past the door, you'll be standing, and you'll swear that there's somebody sitting there looking at you. Yeah, this room has a lot of weird feelings, so it's another good one. I'm going to tell you guys about our Halloween room, just point it out so you guys know where it's at.
What is this?
That's our Halloween room. We do a big Halloween haunted house, so if you want to open that, just
You
take a
go right
look.
ahead. I know what's there.
So it's already.
And like I said, it doesn't look like much, but don't let that fool you. I'll give you an example. Let's try something real quick. Is your thing on night shot, or do you need a light? Okay. Let's see if you can see us. Can you see us? Okay. Let me turn my light off a second. We'll just see.
I don't like the feeling in here.
See what you pick up on. You don't like it already?
I don't like it.
So you already have a feeling. Yeah, it gets what are you picking up on?
Cold.
Colder than normal?
I keep feeling like there's somebody next to me.
That's all of a sudden, right?
Yeah.
This is the way it goes down in here.
You don't like women in here? I heard that.
Now, it's where'd that come from exactly? I couldn't really tell.
It banged.
Yeah, that sounded like, okay, we do have a restaurant next to us, but it didn't
Okay.
sound like it was coming from that direction.
No, it came
sounded like
from
it was
back
coming
here.
from that direction. Yeah.
If you want me out, can you knock? Does he ever give you an audible voice?
They do. We get a lot of disembodied voices. And they're all different.
I don't like that corner right there.
Yeah. That corner right there,
I don't like it. I don't know why.
we started off, I'll tell you a quick story. You see this light bulb here? Well, we started off nearly 6 years ago with about 15 light bulbs all up here. And it's because I was basically going around the building changing light bulbs, changing out the bad ones. And I didn't throw them away right away. I just came in here and
Just
put them on the shelf. So I had a lot of light bulbs here. Over time, one of the things they like to do, we're only down to one light bulb now, is when you come in here and sometimes you're halfway down the hallway after you just explored in here, they'll pick up a light bulb sometimes and chunk it into that corner and smash it.
He will.
Yeah.
Because you're
out of
being
anger.
messy.
Out
Because
of
he didn't
anger.
like, wow.
So we've lost most of the light bulbs that way. And he also likes to bang on anything that's in here. I mean, you'll hear the weirdest bangs. Now here's the thing I want to point out to you guys. There is a restaurant next door to us, and they do make noise during the day. There's some dumpsters out here that they dump things in. Now the restaurant closes at 9, and it's a weekday, so they should close pretty early and they'll be gone. You'll hear them around that time dump all their stuff into the dumpster, which makes a pretty loud noise. Well, when they leave, though, it becomes a ghost town. And past that point, if you start hearing loud noises, then
not
it's
them.
most likelihood it's in the building. Yeah. So you pick up on a lot of stuff. And you'll know the difference. The way the noises come in here, just
I remember what the paranormal team was. That he threw a brush at her and that.
yeah. To be honest with you, there's been so much that's happened, I can't even remember it all anymore. It's just constant things happening in every group, and some groups don't get much, and then other groups just get a whole bunch. You know, I think it has to deal with people and the way that they approach and various things. But that's why I think you guys are going to be lucky if it's just the two of you. So you're going to be basically exploring up there and around. And I stay real quiet because I know that you're exploring. I don't contaminate and stuff. Very quiet, and we're only up here for one reason. We're only up here in case something bad happens.
Somebody screamed.
I've had a lot of screams. I've had people leave in the middle of the night. Here we got our Wildflower Room, and a lot of things go down in here.
Oh, this is the poker room.
Yeah, people will hear people playing cards. You'll hear chips moving. Sometimes you'll be asleep, you just hear what sounds like two men playing a poker game. And we put the trigger objects out there a few years back just to kind of see what was going to happen with all that. Because psychics were telling us that they used to play cards in this room. That's the reason why we put all this out. And the moment we did, sure enough, people started experiencing things. So that kind of comes and goes, so that's something real interesting. The other thing is it's a touch lamp. We have a regular light there, but the touch lamps is a good experiment to try. We have a touch lamp in here and a touch lamp in
Are
there.
those the ones that come on all the time?
If you touch them. Yeah. They're not faulty, I can tell you. This lamp's like been on. You have to like tap it,
Yeah.
tap it, tap it, tap it, tap it. So you can throw that into your investigation if you want them to interact with you. Just tell them to touch the lamp.
tap it,
It's a good
okay.
way to do things. So this little room,
Oh, I thought this was the bathroom.
yeah, this little room gives people some heebie-jeebies sometimes. And I don't know, you guys probably haven't seen the TV shows, but I did the show Fright Club, and this is the door that was featured in Fright Club. That slammed shut one day.
That's the door that slammed shut on you when you
Yeah.
were walking through?
And it slammed shut so hard, and it just doesn't do it justice
see,
from
it
that
stops
from that
right
cam.
there.
Yeah, it stops. This door slammed so hard that it shook the whole second floor of this building.
Wow.
And it, you know, the video clip that was sent to them doesn't do justice because it was much louder than that, and it practically made me jump out of my skin because I was finishing up the brothel room that day, and I was sitting completely in there. And that was one of those days where sometimes I'll walk in here and I feel perfectly fine, and then other days I'll walk through that front door and I'm just like this. I have that feeling, and it's almost like it's funny. I'm an owner of this building, but sometimes I don't feel like it's mine.
Right.
If that makes any sense, it's really theirs.
Yeah.
And so there's some days where I walk in and I feel like that, and I almost want to turn around and go back home. And that day I felt like that, and when I was in there working in brothel room, I actually turned on the radio, and I rarely do that. I was so nervous that day. I just was wanting to hear music.
You were telling me everything.
And while I was listening to the music, they were talking out here. It was off on, probably like 6-7 times. And the 7th time was when I sat in there with the door closed, and I was like, this time I'm just going to hit that video camera and see what's really going on out here. And when I hit the video camera, that's when this happened. And right after this happened, I went home.
Wow.
I was like, I'm done. Jenny.
Yeah.
Hello, Jenny.
Yeah. And of course, she does move from time to time. She did not too long ago, matter of fact. I'll say about 3 weeks ago.
They say she scared somebody. Somebody
Yeah.
that was here filming.
Yeah. She's interesting. To this day, I don't know what's going on with her. I don't know. Not going to say she's possessed. I don't know. I bought her years ago at a garage sale and brought her into this building. And it wasn't until I brought her in that things started happening. And I don't know if they're moving her.
Right.
You know, I don't know if it's something.
That made her come alive in this house.
Yeah. I will tell you one thing. Her appearance, especially when you're filming at different times of the night, she will take on a very lifelike appearance. And that is creepy when it happens. She won't look like this. She'll look more lifelike.
I hear that when you ask her to take a picture, she smiles.
Possibly. I've seen all sorts of things. Chad Lindbergh, last time he was here, was sleeping right here, and somebody started playing with his toes
What?
when he was sleeping. He had his bare feet off, and somebody was messing with his toes.
Yeah.
So you just don't know. This bed, if you put a K2 meter right in the middle of the bed, you watch what kind of readings you get.
We have a
Yeah.
meter.
Now, the interesting thing with that would be in the middle of the bed. Your plug's way over here, your plug's way over there, that's way up here. Guarantee it's not these things giving that signal off. Brad Clean again from Ghost Lab. Hard to get a paranormal rise out of these guys. Well, Brad slept here one time when they were filming. They were up here about 4 or 5 times to film the whole thing. They always picked this room. Him and Barry always picked this room to sleep in every time they came. Barry would sleep in there, close the door, Brad would sleep here. It's kind of funny, 2 big guys picking a pink room every time, but I guess they like this room. Well, this particular is about the 4th time I got up really early the next morning, like real early. It was barely light. And I was just making the coffee, and I hear Brad coming down the stairs. And he comes in, and normally he doesn't ever rise about paranormal stuff, but he couldn't wait to tell me about this. He goes, Dan, he goes, something about that room. I said, what? He goes, I was sleeping in this bed on my back, and he said last night around 4 a.m., again, the magical time, heard a noise, and he said something crawled up on the bed on this side of the bed, and he felt the whole bed go down. Now, he doesn't freak out because he's used to paranormal things, so he's just kind of studying it. He wasn't like really doing much of anything else. He said after a while, it looked like it got off the bed and it went away. Well, he's telling me this whole story downstairs, and all of a sudden we hear somebody else coming downstairs. It's Barry. They hadn't talked yet before Brad came down. And Barry right away goes, Brad, he goes, what time did that happen to you? And Brad goes, around 4. He goes, doggone it, the same thing was happening on my bed at the same time.
Wow.
So we're both having that experience of somebody on their beds in 2 different rooms around the same time.
2 guys.
Yeah.
Wow.
And you can feel the bed go down. And other people, a guy got yanked off this bed not too long ago. Not yanked completely off, but he was laying on his back taking an afternoon nap. Mm-hmm. And something grabbed his arm and yanked him. And how we know it's proof was he left a recorder sitting over here to detect what would happen in his room while he was sleeping. And the recorder picked up the whole thing. You could hear how freaked out sounded he sounded. You could hear actually something shuffle up on the bed.
Wow.
And then you could, I mean, he actually yelled when it yanked him. So it's pretty good. I wish you would have had a video camera. That would have been even better.
That would have been awesome.
Yeah. Just never know. Yeah. Okay, you ready for your experiment?
Oh no, the closet.
All right. Like I said, I'm not going to tell you anything. But you stand right there with your back against that wall and just tell us what comes to you. But your back has to be up against that wall, pretty much.
Right up against the wall?
Yeah, leaning up against the wall.
I don't like this wall.
And if you need to, close your eyes. I just want to see if anything comes to you.
Why does it feel like it's shaking?
We're not moving. If you have to, close your eyes to get more of a visual.
What was that?
That was a restaurant.
Oh, okay. It's gonna
Just
make
tell
me
us,
jumpy.
this is what I want you to do. Tell us anything that comes to your mind. Don't hold back anything. Just tell us anything. Anything that pops into your head. If anything at all.
I don't feel anything right now.
Nothing? Okay. Doesn't happen to everybody, so.
I feel the wall moving.
You do?
Yes. Like it's like
Yeah, the building's not moving.
almost wants to shove me.
Okay.
But just in it wants to push me off the wall. I feel it shaking.
Yeah, the floor's not shaking. I don't feel
No,
anything.
it feels like it just feels like it's shaking to me. I might have to come back in here when it gets dark.
Okay. We call this our 50-50 room. The reason why it's 50-50, 50% of people are perfectly fine in here. The other 50%
Or not.
I've lost in the middle of the night.
Really?
I've had couples from Dallas that have booked this room with whatever group they were with, and by 7 in the morning, next morning, they were back in Dallas.
Wow.
This is also the room, one of the beds that Nick Ross slept in for Deathwalker. And when you guys see what he got, pretty incredible.
Wow.
This room, the reason why I stood you there, when we tell you?
Somebody hanged themselves there.
No, Well, we hope not.
Okay.
It's more along the lines of, I've had many psychics here in the building, some very reputable psychics. I've actually had quite a few, and I never tell them about anything. And they always end up in two places in the room. In a second, we're going to go to the second area, but this is one of the areas. Right there. And what they pick up on is a young woman, possibly in her teens, very, very, very unhappy, very emotional. And it's like she is imprisoned, like in shackles right there.
Oh, so this is the part that they say they felt
She's held
she
against
was
her
held
will,
against.
right there.
Okay.
And I mean, she's not just held, it's like they pick up on chains. Now this room is modernized now. You know, we don't know what this room, that's a bathroom. Yeah.
Okay.
And that's what I mean, the bathroom's been put in, all this has been put in. We don't know what this used to be. It was part of the original structure, but you know, it could have been 2 rooms, it could have been a place where they lock women up.
Right.
I mean, it could have been anything. You know, the fact that that's a closet now doesn't mean it was a closet back then. So we don't know, but there's just I've had women literally stand there the way that I just had you stand there, and this is more than one woman, this is numerous women, break out crying in front of us right there. Super emotional. Because it just hits them all of a sudden. And that's why I was standing you there to see what
I
you
can
would
see
feel.
that being a closed-in place. This is a more active room, from what I hear. Is that true?
This is, like I said, the 50-50. Some people are in here, they hardly have anything happen. The other people, everything. Shadow figures, you name it. It's just everything in here. Chad, this is the room that he changed rooms in the first time he was here, Chad Lindbergh. He was here all days, taking a nap there. He was perfectly fine. Midnight came around, I want to get another room.
You couldn't take it.
So it affects people differently. And Nick said he picked up on a lot when he was sleeping in this room. So a lot of weird films. So they're not working.
Oh, so they will turn on as you walk.
So always remember right here at the door, there's 3 steps going down, otherwise you're going to take a tumble. I'm sure you've read about this room.
The kids' room. It sounds like somebody's walking over there.
Where?
Over here.
Right there?
Yeah.
Like quick movement?
Yeah. Like we walked
Be honest
in,
with you, it wouldn't surprise me.
like we walked in on something, on somebody.
What's
Yep.
the words for?
Like they're just trying to get out of the way.
I'm not gonna
Yeah,
step on it. It's like it came from this area.
yeah.
Emily. So is that who we heard? Was it Emily?
That's just one of the girl spirits in here.
Says, are you scared? No, Emily, I'm not.
That was, I saw one of the videos they had was was taped.
Oh, but-
Yeah, ball, the blue ball, which is right there. Somebody took it out.
They were putting the ball-
It's usually sitting right here.
Yeah.
So you guys are free to do whatever you want to do, you know, as far as experiments, anything. I let everybody do their own experiments because you just never know, but that's the reason why the tape was there for the
Right,
ball, but
here.
some people move it.
That's what I told him. I remember that somewhere.
The big thing about this room, and I'll just tell you, is this room has always given us a feeling from the very beginning. This is not the other room I was going to tell you about in a second with our hidden mystery, but this room always drew us, and it always drew us in a kid's way. Because we're always seeing kids or hearing kids back here. So we decided to start creating this. Well, on top of it, over the years, some people started offering us haunted dolls, and then I would go out and acquire haunted dolls.
So I heard there is one in there.
And there's more than one.
Oh, okay.
So I was going to tell you, I got 8 of them in
They
here.
were like, you got to figure it out which one it is.
I got 8 haunted dolls in here that come from other locations. And I might have brought in more, than what we had already by doing all this. One of these dolls in here was found underneath the floor of an old farmhouse here in West Texas.
Wow.
And I'll give you a hint, she's by the lamp. The one standing up was found underneath the floorboards of an old
Does
farmhouse.
she still look like she's in good shape?
She's dirty. She actually has dirt on her. I haven't cleaned her up.
Oh.
If you look at her dress,
Yeah. Look at that.
yeah, I'm not saying she has anything because I really don't know, but she's just interesting.
So why is that one locked up in the...
That's one of them. She's not locked up. She's
Oh,
just,
okay.
She's just seated. Basically, I'll point them out to you if you want to know. You got her. You got that
The
one.
one that's in the case over there.
You got this one. You also have this one.
Sorry.
This one. This one came from an antique store. A lot of people were saying they feel things from her.
From her?
Yeah, but I haven't proven anything there. This one was given to us. That's another one I acquired.
The one with the curly hair?
Yeah. That one was given to us behind the piano.
A little Shirley Temple.
The one standing up I acquired. And one of our biggest ones is down, actually it might be more than 8 now. The clown.
Oh, this one right here?
Yeah. He changed his this one right here.
Oh, that one.
He changed his position. So sometimes teams have actually seen him go from one place to another.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and that's what he used to do at the location that he was at. This one might have something. I brought her in not too long ago, but I haven't really
she looks a
confirmed
little...
anything. The last one is that one in the middle with no eyes.
Oh, wow.
Now, the ones I haven't really confirmed, which people are saying things are happening, I haven't really witnessed myself, just kind of weird. The ventriloquist, he changed his position sometimes, people have said, so you got to pay real close attention to see where his hands are, where his feet are. Sometimes you'll come in, his legs are not crossed right now. Sometimes you come in and his legs are crossed, which is really creepy. So you have to have like a photographic memory in this room.
To remember.
Yeah, to remember everything where it's placed. When you turn on the music boxes that I got, this is a music box, this is a music box. Things tend to happen. That's why I brought them in. I'm trying to remember what else. As creepy as she looks, she's not really haunted, but she's just got a certain look to her.
To her face.
Yeah.
She doesn't look very happy.
Yeah. So there's just there's a lot of energy in here, and it shifts. Like right now, I'll be honest with you, I don't feel anything in here right now. It feels kind of
pretty
normal to me right now. But there's other times where you walk in. I guarantee you'll come in later, and this will feel very
Heavy.
very heavy. Yeah. Matter of fact, I'm not picking up on too much of a heavy sense right now at all down here. It feels pretty normal.
I said normally I'll have real bad anxiety, and I'm not feeling anything.
Yeah. You feel anything in this room?
This is the room where the two ladies laid on the bed, and they got...
Yes. A lot of things happen to women in here.
This is the room that I told you that they were laying down on the bed.
Yeah.
And they felt like they were being stabbed.
Yeah. Yeah, this room, I don't know what it is with women, but
Is this Cowboy's
a lot
room?
of things have happened. This is the one we're actually going to dedicate to Emmanuel Clements. We're going to call it Clement's Calamity Room. And we're going to decorate it a lot more. We just haven't gotten around to it. But this room has a lot. It just, as plain as it looks, a lot of things happen to people back here. And nobody really wants to sleep back here.
Yeah. So
They just get the, it is a bit that people can sleep in with groups, but it's hard to keep anybody back here. Usually what's funny is people will,
What is that?
it's an air conditioner and a heater. Yeah, it does everything, so.
But you don't have anything on right now, though, do you?
No.
And I felt, especially
there's
on the
nothing
bottom,
on.
it's really cold.
Yeah.
Like you can feel the coldness.
Okay. The other room I told you about, that is one of our mystery rooms. Just want to see what you pick up in here.
That closet.
You need to read what's on that closet too.
Oh, what does it say? stand inside this closet totally alone. See, I told you I didn't like that closet. I didn't even read it. I just the way it looks, the way it
Yeah.
feels.
You'll feel stuff, I guarantee it.
You're gonna do
That door doesn't open all the way and goes about that far, but it's good enough to get in there.
What?
No, I'm not gonna open it all
Yeah.
the way. I'm just gonna open
Yeah.
it right here. Is this the closet that everybody stands in?
Yes. And you put your back up against that wall. I've actually been pushed off of that wall by two hands.
Yeah, I've heard.
My wife has had her ponytail pulled straight up in the air while she stood in there. Other women have had their ponytails
Yeah.
pulled up, hair pulled. Sometimes you're in there and you feel like somebody's next to you all of a sudden. It just gets really, really, really cold. It's just weird. And the other feeling that people get in this room a lot of times, which I'm not feeling it now, but you will feel like an equilibrium shift in here. And it's like you're standing straight up. The room's not tilted,
Right.
but you're standing straight up, and all of a sudden you will feel
Feel
like
it.
you will feel like you're at an
At an
angle, even though you're
I
not
can see
moving
that.
and the room hasn't
That's
moved.
funny, the floor.
It does. It does
Yeah.
kind of.
Yeah,
The floor's level?
I'm pretty sure.
But it doesn't like
It's
you feel
level.
like you're kind of
Yeah.
tilted.
But I mean, even if the floor was tilted, that's not what I'm talking about. It's a very severe equilibrium. And you will actually get nausea. Nick Roth got it while I was here. A lot of people get nausea and you get dizziness. And sometimes you just, right, it's not here right now.
Right.
You'll know what I'm talking about when it is.
When it
It's
is.
not here right now. I don't feel anything right now. Feels actually pretty normal back here.
I think it's just kind of seeing what we're doing.
We have a magical time in here, 7:30.
7:30 p.m.
7:30 p.m., right when the sun's going down. You watch how the building changes. And we couldn't figure out for the longest time. We were like 7:30, what's going on? Well, when does a brothel kick in?
That's what I'm gonna say. That's when it opened, huh?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense.
And
So,
it
yeah.
comes after.
yeah. It's almost like the building really fills up with energy at that point. Another thing we get down here a lot, you get a lot of mist and fog forming. And it gets very hazy down here at times.
Oh, what is that chair?
Yeah, that's the
Oh,
infamous.
that scared the crap out of me.
Yeah, that is, sorry, my Halloween. Remember I told you I have no room to put them anymore, so that's where they've sat since October.
I hear a lot about this chair.
Yeah. Looks very ordinary till you're in here, till you're actually in here experimenting.
I hear a lot of people have gotten sick on this chair.
I've had people thrown out of that chair before.
Really?
Yeah. I've had people thrown out of that chair and the breath knocked out of them so hard they landed on the floor so
Wow.
hard.
Whose chair was this?
We don't know.
They,
That's
see,
just
the
it.
thing
We
is-
don't know. We tend to think that Deacon's sitting in that chair at
Deacon.
times.
Okay,
The one I told you about, the outlaw.
right.
And he appears at certain times of the night. Like, it's almost like he comes in at a certain time and that's when things start to change.
That's when he comes in and sits
Yeah.
down on his chair.
And this room, like right now, it doesn't feel weird, but again, this room would just, at some points, it will almost drive you out. Your head will just start pounding. You know, sometimes you feel like you just gotta get out of here. Nick got affected big time in this room. Yeah, he felt a lot of stuff. So, like I said, it doesn't look like much when the restaurant closes, it gets dark, 7:30 comes around,
bet.
it's a whole different animal. Yeah. And you guys are free to go anywhere back in here. It's been stripped out, but yeah, they stripped out a lot of the, yeah, that's another room. We got a story right here for you to read,
Yeah, I saw that.
which actually goes a lot farther back than what it says, but that's been sitting on there a little while.
Black hair.
I got tired of repeating the story, so I just typed it out. That way I can remember the experience better. That lady, I will tell you one thing, that the lady that screamed when this experience happened, I was up front in my room with the door closed, which is quite a ways up there downstairs. And she screamed so loud from this room that she sounded like she was screaming in the room right next door to me.
Wow.
And she freaked everybody out in this building when that happened. And they were all running for the front door when it happened.
She saw her here in the closet?
Basically what happened is there wasn't much in this room at the time. It was a pretty empty room except for the mirror, the door, the bed was not here. These things were not here. It was that and this stuff. So basically a pretty empty room. And she was standing, I want to say, yeah, she's standing about right here, looking this direction. Her son was standing about right here.
What was that?
That was me, sorry.
Oh.
Stepping on a board. Her son was standing about right here, looking this way. There was a third person out of their group investigating in that room over there, but there were only 3 people back here. Everybody else was up front doing their investigating. All of a sudden, they're just standing here talking, kind of looking over here doing stuff. All of a sudden, lady hears something. Right as she kind of goes like this, there's a woman in a big white gown, solid, comes right here, right past her, and they actually brush arms, skin to skin.
Wow.
And that's when she screamed.
Is that one?
Now, when she screamed, the scream just came out because, you know, there's another person all of a sudden coming from nowhere in shock. Basically, they touch skin. He turns his head right at that moment, and this lady does this little spinning thing, holding her dress out, smiling right in front of him, spins right between them, goes right back where she came from, and right as they turn to figure out, this all happened like really fast. While they're trying to figure out what is going on, she vaporizes through that wall.